Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. Joan served the state of California as a member on the Arts Council and on the Film Commission. She was formerly on the Architectural Commission and fulfilled 2 terms on the Fine Arts Commission for the city of Beverly Hills. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, Condé Nast Publications, and the Hearst Corporation, Joan covered the world of fashion, the mysteries of food, the excitement of theater, and the international art scene. She continues to find people who are on the cutting edge of their professions. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're here at the Hollywood Museum in the historic Max Factor building, and our guests are artist, director, inventor Christine Marie, and author, artist Graham Morris. TED Fellow Christine Marie earned an MFA in theater at Cal Arts. She studied puppetry and ballet and is the premier person inventor of 3D stereoscopic shadow theater. And what did I say? I don't know what I said.
I know. My friends will always go, "Oh, Christine Marie at a party, she does shadow puppets."
Oh, that's easier.
And then I go, "No, I do immersive, cinematic, stereoscopic shadow theater."
Immersive, stereoscopic shadow
Cinematic
theater.
Shadow theater, yeah.
Oh, okay. Shadow
mouthful,
theater.
yeah.
After I started thinking about it, then I knew what shadow theater was. Ballet is very shadow theater-ish.
For sure.
And also Thailand? Did they use
Yes.
those little puppets?
Yes. And there's a tradition in Greece and in China as well.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, so how'd you get to ballet?
Well, it started a little bit before that. So I started with having a dream about shadows. I was a video editor.
I'm going to call you the ghost.
I know. It's
You were a video editor?
I was a normal person who just edited video. And I was just spending so much time in front of the computer, 10 hours a day. Oh. And I loved creating cinematically, the cross dissolves and fades, and I just hated sitting there by myself for so many hours. And one night I had this dream of a shadow, and it was just a really powerful dream that I couldn't get the vision of it out of my eye. And so I went and checked out different shadow theater traditions and just started researching art using shadows. And I found this shadow theater thing in Indonesia. Oh. And that really kind of interested me. And I also got a flyer to see a shadow play in San Francisco.
Oh, did we have shadow plays in L.A.?
Some people do shadow plays in L.A., yeah. But there's the most famous American shadow theater company is in San Francisco, Shadowlight. So I went and saw this play.
What's it called?
Shadowlight Productions.
Shadowlight.
So I went to see this play, and I expected what I think we'd all expect, like a little of this.
Yeah, shadows.
And some little bunny foo-foos and maybe some puppets talking to each other. But instead, it was this 20 by 30 foot screen, the size of a movie theater screen. And behind it, they had these cross dissolves and pans, and it looked like a film. I thought it was an animation. And at the end of it, everybody came out with masks and puppets, and it had all been done live.
There were all people behind the screen?
There were all people, and they were cross-dissolving lights.
How did they, where do they put the lights?
So the lights are about 10 feet from the screen.
In front or behind?
Behind.
Behind.
And so it looks like you're watching a film, but really they're setting up one shot in front of light 1 and the next shot in front of L2. So just how you would cut when you're editing film, it's all done live.
So what happens? The director what says you're on light 2 or you're on?
Yes.
Does the director have to be there every minute that's happening, or does it come naturally?
Well, so that's the hard thing. It's like making a film live, as all my actors and ensemble know. You have to keep rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing.
So then you don't tell them like that. They do it themselves.
So eventually, like now we're doing this show right now, and I have about 8 different lights. And so they're setting up a shot in front of each light so we can go to it live. And then the actors perform in front of it. We go to light 2.
Well, this certainly wasn't Cal Arts.
No.
What did you do at Cal Arts?
Well, I had trained, I was an apprentice for this director and shadow master for 10 years.
At CalArts?
No, in San Francisco.
But
and that's when I went to Bali and studied because he had trained in Bali.
Oh, I see.
And then when I came to CalArts was pretty much when I was ready to make my own work.
Oh, you mean it was after that?
It was after 10 years as an apprentice.
You're kidding.
Yes. So at CalArts, I mostly...
So you came to CalArts as an old lady.
Yeah, I was an old hat. Yeah, I was just for my MFA. So yeah, I was a little... I was a little already seasoned in the art.
But what were they? But what did you take then?
Well, I don't know if it's offered anymore, but it's the one place in the world you can get an MFA in puppetry.
It was puppetry. But what? But did you have to make your own puppets? And
well, see, that's the thing. It was hard because I was in the puppetry program in theater, but everything I do is very much like a film director. And I don't actually make puppets. I have people in shadows, and I have objects in shadows. And we're cross-dissolving and moving and doing special effects with foils and water and such. So mostly at CalArts, I learned how to, kind of just gain the confidence in directing my own shows. I already kind of knew what I was doing.
I see.
I already knew what I was doing, but I needed to kind of put it all together.
So Red Cat is a part of the CalArts program, and there's something called New Original Works, NOW, and that's what your show is a part of. Yes. And your show took over a year. Over a year. And what's the name of it?
So the show is called Four Trains.
Four Trains.
That's the excerpt at Red Cat.
Right.
But it's a portion. It's just about 20 minutes of a show that we're premiering in the fall.
Oh.
So in the fall is the full version is a 3-screen immersive shadow play.
Okay, so we're sitting, right?
So if we're sitting, it's just like
what
an
are we
IMAX.
sitting thing? Oh, we're not sitting just regular.
When you watch Signaling Arcana, you'll be sitting in the audience, but there'll be 3 screens kind of in a concave.
It will be just a regular audience,
it'll feel
but
kind
it'll
of around us. Yeah.
And what's Arcana?
Arcana is like the arcane is the mystery.
So that's the name of the play.
That's the name of the play.
But you're doing Four Trains.
Four Trains is what I call the excerpt version.
I see. Okay,
Yes.
Tell us about Four Trains and how it came to you.
Okay, so I was sitting in traffic. I bet a lot of people have great ideas because we spend a lot of time in traffic. And I was sitting at a traffic signal and the train was going by. And my headlights were casting the shadow of the train onto a building. And so I saw this giant, like 30-foot shadow of a train going by and red lights flashing. And I just thought, oh, that's so beautiful. So I went back to my studio and I bought a model train and I put the lights in front of it and I watched and made these giant shadows. And then slowly I started to think, what is the train? What kind of a story am I getting from this train? And I just thought of that first generation in the 19th century. So there were these people who were born, and the world was this beautiful, I envision it, place where you could build your own home and live off the fat of the land, like Laura Ingalls Wilder or something. And then all of a sudden, this one machine's invented, the train, and suddenly everyone has to be on time. And starts to cities are come and are invented around the train.
Everything changes.
Everything changes for just that one group of people, that one generation. And I also think about my generation that was born without the computer or the PC or any of these inventions that have changed our lives. And I kind of feel that kinship to that generation then. Then they thought the world was going to end, and this new sense of globalization came about, and that's sort of where we are now.
The train image reminds me of a painting that I just saw at the Huntington Museum Library in Pasadena.
That's a beautiful place.
And it's a Reginald March. And it's just the train coming into the picture with all the industrial buildings behind it. And I was thinking when I was reading your bio and this Four Trains, I was thinking of that painting because it really fits into what you're saying.
Yeah.
And he was going through, that was like the 30s probably when he was painting it.
This new era. And the train, for me, the train is such a romantic symbol. It's powerful and nostalgic and romantic, but it was also kind of tragic.
So did you write the piece? Is there writing to it? How does the story come in? Let's hear that.
So I started thinking about it, dreaming about it, collecting research about the train, and started putting together the idea of this one couple that might have lived, and this 4 days in their life. And so we'll think about, what's the idea of young love? So we built a forest, and they might go skinny dipping, and they might do kind of these beautiful things during the day. And then we start to play with all these different things, found objects mostly. So I look around, a store, and I'll take a little flashlight and just start shining things onto objects to see what they'll look like in shadow.
But how do you know what they're going to be in shadow? We're in lights right now. We're not in shadow. But we have shadows on the set.
So I just take things back to the studio and the ensemble, and we play, and the composer will play.
Do you hang up a sheet?
Yeah.
And use it?
Yeah,
Do you?
yeah. Or we just project onto the wall, and slowly the images start to come together and sort of tell the story.
So that tells a story. Then how do you put the people in it?
So the actors will come, and we'll act out tableaus, and then it'll start, one image to the next, and I'll start to feel the story more. So I write them as kind of short haikus. Like a young couple wakes up one morning, they go for a swim,
So
they dance through the forest, he gives her a flower, and they go to sleep.
So they remember all this, and they do this behind the screen.
We do behind and in front.
Oh, you do?
Because I like to see the people doing it. I worked for so long in the company behind the screen, and I thought the most exciting parts are happening behind.
So Red Cat will have the screen where they're working in front and behind. And how do you do the lights with all of that?
So I hand make all of the lights. They're these small halogen lights.
Oh, they're small.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking you had big
No,
lights.
they're really tiny, and the actors hold them. So if they want to do like a pan, like a cinematic pan, they'll hold the light and they'll move it through a forest.
So that you direct them to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you can't say, okay, now, right?
Not live. No, they have to memorize it. They have to memorize all of it.
So those are their lines.
Their lines,
movements.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's like a choreography.
Yes.
And do you have a choreographer come in and do that?
We have a dance scene in this one, so we have a choreographer who helped choreograph that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then there's 3D.
Oh, yeah, 3D stereoscopic.
Yeah.
Stereoscopic. I'm going like, how am I going to introduce her? I can't even say all of these things.
It means the old school anaglyph 3D. So people wear the red and blue gels over their eyes. Yeah, like opera glasses. And so you pull those over your eyes, and then the shadows actually, they pop out.
They change?
So I'll see adults in the audience.
But you're not using a black light or anything, are you?
No, I just use a shadow light that I invented. And people in the audience that will like duck. The 3D is that.
Is that
in
right?
your face? Yes.
How long is the piece?
The piece at Red Cat's about 25 minutes.
And then do they have more pieces that night, the same night?
Yes, there's 2 amazing dance companies that are going that night.
So 3 people there'd be 3 separate...
For the festival, yeah.
Oh, for the festival. And so would it start like at 7 or 8?
It starts at 8:30.
And then it goes till, what, 3 hours, 2 hours?
I'm not exactly sure, 9:30. I've only done the text, so that probably went a lot longer than the show will.
That's amazing. You've designed... What, lighting, shadows? I don't know. At Nokia, Geffen, South Coast Rep, and Red Cat. Are all these theaters different?
Yes. When I'm designing, I'm in a different hat. So I listen to the director, and I try to make things for them. But all of the theaters have been so welcoming. I have a lot of stuff, and I like to test different things out. So even when we had the Geffen, they gave me my own space. They gave me the theater for a month before our show came up.
And what kind of show
rehearse.
was it? Your own show?
No, that was a show. It was written by Donald Margulies.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, called Shipwrecked.
Oh, I saw that. Oh, so you did create there were...
Yes, all the shadow stuff. They would lift a mass up on the ship, and then we did all the shadows from behind it.
Oh, that's very interesting. So they have to bring a different person than the lighting person in to do that.
Yes, yes. So that was us doing shadows, and yeah, they were very generous to give us the time and space.
Before we leave, I know TED is a great thing. Thousands and thousands of people. You're a TED fellow. What does that mean?
Oh, it's awesome. It means that I get to go to the TED conferences, which is awesome. I got to perform and speak at TED, and get to be a part of there's about 300 of us right now who are fellows, and it's just an amazing network of people who, I think their term is trailblazers. So people who are really innovating and working within their field and making new, exciting things in the world.
Well, you did make something exciting for us today. I felt like, what am I going to do? But it was so clear. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
And we'll be right back with artist Graham Morris. Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're here taping at the historic Max Factor building, which houses the Hollywood Museum on Highland Avenue in Hollywood. Our guest, Graham Morris, a native of England, went to Central School of Art to study textile design and printmaking. And let me add, those classes were predominantly filled with young women. All the while, from his early teens, he had a family friend who inspired him to draw. They were animators, right, Graham?
Absolutely.
And who were they?
Well, Chuck Jones and Richard Williams.
Fantastic people. You knew them then?
Yes, absolutely. And they were actually animating, when I first met them, the Oscar-winning Charles Dickens story of A Christmas Carol. And Chuck came over from the States to help.
That's what I wondered, yeah, because he's American.
Yes.
I see.
He came over to help Dick on the project. And I was a young boy and going over there at the weekends to have fun. And I was always given, a background to draw or a layout to draw or an animation character to draw. And so it just continued that I would help on that project, which eventually won the Oscar.
So they paid attention to you as a teenager, really?
I was pretty good back then.
Oh, is that why?
I'm useless now, but back then I had potential, and they saw it and embraced me, and they were very kindly. And my parents were going through a very, very bad divorce. And so I used to go over there most weekends.
Where's over there?
I was living in England,
right,
in London, and I would take my bicycle and cycle to Finchley.
Oh, that's great.
And then sleep over because I was exhausted at the end of the night. But I did some good drawings.
But that's fantastic. So you were a part of an Oscar team.
Yes, exactly.
At that age, really. You wanted to establish a textile design business, but
yes,
you didn't like that very much, did you?
I liked the silkscreen printing part of it. I did some work for Eduardo Paolozzi. I did some work screen printing after we set up my first little studio after leaving college. But it wasn't enough to pay the bills, and I knew that it was never going to work.
Did you think you were going to have artists coming in so that you would be doing their graphics more so than textile?
Yes, I hope so. I was a silkscreen printer. I wanted to do my own work, really. And I did. I did a lot of my own work. But having said that, I needed to make a living. And even though I sold some work to Hermes and some other companies, it wasn't enough. And so really what had to happen was that I had to go back into animation. And so
you did that in London? You went back to drawing? Were you doing
I went
commercials?
back. I went back to Dick and said, I'm broke. I'm broke. I need some work. And I became very good at doing mixing live action and animation.
That's what you became known for then, because you did this morphing at Universal before people really knew what it was. But before we get to Universal and to Marvel and all those wonderful places, you spent a lot of time in Paris, Madrid, Barcelona, fooling around. Were you learning? Were you getting inspiration? What were you doing?
I was getting laid.
That's what I was going to say.
No, you know what? I was a very good animator.
Were you working in those places?
Yes, of course. Of course. That's why I got hired there, and went to companies that would have me come over there and stay with them for months after months.
Really?
Doing commercial after commercial after commercial, and then I would move on to the next place. And so I decided, I would just hang around Europe because it was really great fun for me. And I bought myself one of those Mercedes convertibles and would drive around and have a very good, and yes, I have to say I had dark hair at the time.
At that time, you could do that easily.
Yeah.
All right. Fast forward. Now you get married and you come to the U.S.
Yes, I hate my wife. God, ruined it.
Did
Yes,
she bring you here, or did you bring her?
It was a combination of both, really, because we decided that the weather in England was awful, crap, really, and I said I wanted to go to the sunshine, and my wife said that she's American.
Oh, she's American.
She was American,
I
and maybe I should pop over and see if I could get a job. Anyway, so within 3 days,
right.
I got a job at Marvel, and they said, when can you come back and start?
And Marvel was Chuck Jones a part of it then?
No. Marvel was Stan Lee.
Was Stan,
Yeah,
right?
Stan
Was
Lee.
Stan Lee?
Yeah.
But did they all knew each other? Did they?
Oh yeah.
They were all friendly?
Not so much Chuck and Stan, because Chuck really was a Warner Brothers guy.
But so that really made a difference. But did you
Well,
get
you know what? It was
recommendations?
a superhero. You know, there was time. The comedic factor in the early Tex Avery, Chuck Jones was slapstick. Stan was more into the superheroes.
I got it.
And so it really wasn't the same kind of genre, even though you might want to think that animation is the same. It's the same as saying, like,
Right.
painting is the same where you have realist or abstract.
right.
They're not the same. Just because you give it, inverted commas, a label, there's certain elements that don't really go together.
But they weren't in competition.
There
There was
not
no
at all.
competition at that.
No. There would be no competition.
So
given
when you went to Marvel, you were doing cartoons?
No. The funny thing is that when I went there, I was directing superheroes, and they needed somebody to direct X-Men type characters and animate X-Men type characters.
So did you draw them? Did you
Of
draw
course,
the?
of
Of course, you drew the animation.
Of course, and they needed someone to be able to draw. And when I went in there, I showed them some of my work on a reel that I had, and they said, basically, you're hired and start
Oh, and you
in
started.
3 days. So I called up my wife from a phone booth on Lancashire Boulevard and put the coins in the slot and said, sell the houses. We're moving to LA.
Oh, you put a lot of coins. You called London. You put a lot of coins. So you had that great job. Then you became director at Universal Cartoon Studio,
Yes.
where you excelled. I mean, you got Grammy Awards and Golden Globes and Golden Lions and all kinds of awards. Every
Yes.
movie, everything.
Yes.
Starting from the teenage time, early teenage time.
Yes.
And then you quit.
Yeah, I decided really to give it a go, to give up. I got really fed up really with the computer generated animation.
Oh, because you were so used to.
I'm a hand animator.
Let's see, you have like.
I'm a hand animator. I draw and I paint.
So, this rose, could you animate that?
Absolutely. I can animate absolutely anything that's drawn. In 3D now, you can build it. The people that are coming out of college build, models, and then you can manipulate it. We never used to be able to do that. And in fact, that's why Dick Williams and a lot of great animators got out of the business, because it was just too easy for everybody else to emulate what we'd been struggling to do
Right, I
for
got it.
20 years. And then suddenly the computer comes along and says, wow, isn't this easy? And then I'm looking at it going, I can't do that. And I've been trying to do that for 20 years. So I decided to write a book.
But that was your career. Your whole career came out to be a computer. And so, do you write this book on a computer?
Well, no. No. Actually, if you really want to know, no. I wrote it on 200, 300 pieces of paper.
Oh, like this.
Of this.
I would have just. These,
And
I don't know
I would
where
go.
They go. They're like all these pieces of paper.
I would go to a restaurant and sit there for an hour or two, and scribble on napkins and pieces of paper.
I see.
And
just ideas, or did you have an?
Yeah, I had an idea about it, and so I continued to write, and then eventually said, you know what, this could be a book. And then when I got to one of these, it ended up to be 3 pages of text.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and I had 200. That's an edited version.
This, let me tell you, this Mexico bleeping city.
Yes.
And why did you name it that?
Well, the funny thing is that that's what it is. It is and the person that built the website said, did I really want to call it that? And I said, yeah, because that's what it is. It is a very, very funny story about a family that goes to Mexico City. They speak English. They lived in America. He gets fired and takes a job in Mexico City. In Mexico, I don't know where it is, Mexico City, whatever.
Saying, right.
And I just thought it was really funny that somebody would leave the United States and go and work in Mexico.
But who did your cover? Because this is our favorite, one of our favorite artists.
Well, Derek Boshier, who's one of my best friends, who comes over and watches soccer at my house every weekend, and I need to charge him money for cable.
So that's why I had to give you this cover.
So I said, you have to make the cover. I think I wrote his quote on the back. The bastard forced me to read it and then made me paint the cover.
That's what he
So there you go. So that's it.
Tell me, this is a separate thing.
Okay.
Derek did this with you. I mean, he's got all the Mexico City emblems here, the what do you call it, trademarks and the family and everything that we're supposed to know. Is your blog the same? Does it carry on from this story? The blog
goes on a little bit after they have, if you read the story, they become rather successful.
Right.
And move back to LA. And they eat breakfast at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel every morning.
They're very chic now, aren't they?
Yes, and but they're still line drawings.
They're still line drawings. Do you think Mexico Bleeping City is going to be a movie?
You know what? I think it could. You know what? I think that Mag and me are very interesting characters. There's a lot of people reading it, funnily enough. And I didn't think there would be. But having said that, a lot of people are fascinated by Mag and me. And even though I wrote it in a way that is grammatically incorrect, which I did on purpose, and my father, who is was a professor at Cambridge in a think tank, actually finally got over the fact that the grammar was incorrect.
The Graham grammar.
The Graham grammar was incorrect, and actually went along with the flow.
Oh, great.
So now what I've done actually in the blog is they're older. They have breakfast every day, and they continue their idiotic dialogue. And comment on the news, which I like to do myself.
Yes,
and I make a cartoon with it.
Oh, you do?
Each day, yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and it is, I'm going to say, autobiographical, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks
You're very
for being
welcome.
with me today.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching. Keep writing, JAQUINN1 at AOL.com. See you next time.